Hey guys, it's Patrick Burke. I'm at the B Team World News Desk, updating you on the Niagara real estate market. The big question a lot of people are asking us, what's going on with prices? Why are prices going up in some instances? Why are they going down in others? So let's talk about it. So are prices going up in Niagara? They are. It depends where you look. But when you look back to December of last year and January of this year, in general, that was the low point. And then prices have sort of appreciated since then in the big picture, right? So today I just want to look at it quickly and give you some background on why that's happening. Not just that it is, but the story behind it and what we might expect to see in the summertime. So for the Niagara region, the average sale prices have increased between 13 and 14%, whether you're looking at all residential or just detached homes. So detached homes went up almost $100,000 from January of this year to April of this year. Back in the old days, a 15% annual increase was almost unheard of. So to see it go up that much so far this year is a good sign, considering the beating the market took last year at the back half of 2022. So sales in Niagara so far this year, every month has been weak. It's been sluggish. It's been behind schedule, if you want to call it that. However, there has been improvement. So even though it's been weak, it was weaker back in January and last year. So far this year, January was 23% below the 10-year average. So by 10-year average, I mean you take the last 10 Januaries, find the average. This January was 23% below that. March was 13% below. February was 13, March was 15% below, and April was just 16% below for sales, which is sort of contradicts the whole concept, right? How can we have prices up 13, 14, 15% when we're still 14, 15% below the number of monthly sales you'd expect? And the reason is this. The reason that prices are going up is because of the inventory, the available listings for sale. Remember back in COVID when we go to the grocery store and there wouldn't be bread or toilet paper or something like that, right? On a monthly basis, there's a little bit less on the shelves when compared to, again, that 10-year average. So January, we were actually up 15% above the 10-year average for the number of new listings. February, we're 9% up. March was +2, and then April we were just about 8 or 9% below the 10-year average. So the trend line for supply is declining every month. Meanwhile, the sales, yes, they're weak, but they're sort of the same. So that trend line is actually passing below the sales. As a result, yes, prices have inclined or increased on a monthly basis so far this year. So the issue is, yes, the number of new listings aren't terrible. It's not, 30% below average. But what is unique about this year is only this year and one other year that I could find in the last 15 where on a monthly basis, it declined in relation to the 10-year average. That other year was COVID 2020. And that was a complete one-off unicorn on a unicorn year, right? So this is the only other year that we've seen that, where we've seen the monthly decline according to the trend for the 10-year average. So that makes this sort of it's by no means as unique as 2020 was. That will remain on its own shelf, but this is sort of being an oddball year so far. In conclusion, yes, sales are sluggish, but because new listing inventory continues to weaken, prices are up. That's a wrap on that, right? So one of the challenges with that is because the market's a bit more competitive, somebody might see a house down the street that got 3 offers and it sold for $5,000 over asking, right? And we're seeing that all over the place right now in general. So as a result, as a seller, you're thinking, whoa, the party's back on. We're back to 2022 early. And so we're going to get over asking and all this other stuff. So as a result, we're seeing this complete buffet. I'm talking the Mandarin of price strategies right now. There's underpricing, there's delayed presentation, there's overpricing, there's sort of everything. So as a result, it's confusing out there with what the value of a home is. So for active listings in Niagara right now, there's 1,814 active listings on the market. The average asking price for those listings for everything that's on the market right now is sitting at $969,000. So the average asking price right now in Niagara is pushing up on $1 million, which you could argue doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't reflect the reality of where the market's at. However, 26% of all listings on the market right now in Niagara are over $1 million. So why does that matter? Well, it depends what you're selling. If you're selling a home over $1 million right now with the available inventory that's out there, we're at about 5.6 months of inventory. Meaning, if we didn't list another home in Niagara for $1 million, it would take just under 6 months for all the current inventory to sell based on what has happened recently. So that's one consideration. If you're under $1 million, the other flip side of that is when you're looking at what's going on in the market, when you're looking at general data, it's a really good idea to take that higher end stuff out of the equation because it is skewing the numbers for most municipalities right now in Niagara. So as you know, the Niagara region is made up of all kinds of municipalities. Let's look at St. Catharines though. That is the #1 city in the Niagara region as far as annual homes sold. Right now, there's 303 active listings in St. Catharines with an average asking price of $834,000. $834. So again, similar to Niagara, that is significantly higher than the recent sales averages. Over the last 30 days, there's been 155 sales in St. Catharines, meaning if nothing else was listed for sale in St. Catharines, we would be completely sold out in the span of 2 months. So that is a market that's producing what many of you have probably experienced, whether that's competitive offer situations where buyers are competing with each other, where there's a little bit more activity than some people might have anticipated. It is by no stretch early 2022, not even close. However, it is active based on what I mentioned earlier, where inventory keeps coming back down. So similar to the Niagara region, the sales, those 155 sales, the average selling price in the last 30 days was $650,000. So about $185,000 lower than the current average asking price. So again, when you're putting your home up for sale, that pricing strategy, being locked into where the market values really are, is crucial. How are prices in St. Catharines so far this year? Again, similar to everywhere else for the most part, January was the low. For all residential in St. Catharines, January was $591,000 on average. April we just passed was $654,000. So yes, we were up about 11% so far this year from January to this past month, April. Detached, similar story. We went from $632,000 to $715,000 average sale price of a detached home in St. Catharines in the month of April. That's an increase of 13% from January. So how does that work? It ties back to that same thing. Even though sales were weak, inventory was going weaker, and as a result, buyers had less to choose from. Therefore, you get price appreciation. As usual, Niagara Falls comes in with its own twist on things. It is a curveball. Way more volatility in general in Niagara Falls because their marketplace is fed by so much outside investment. There's a bit more of a EKG monitor readout to the Niagara Falls market. The big piece for Niagara Falls, for the number of sales, it went from about 16% below normal in February to dropping to 30 to 35% below normal in March and April. So that was a huge swing where sales were okay, again 16% below, but absolutely dropped out from under them in March and April, 35%. As a result, prices actually came down from March to April. Still up from the January low, but we had a sort of a hump and then back down in April, sitting at $657,000 for all residential and $681,000 for detached in the month of April. Again, still up 4, 5, 6, 7%, depending on where you look, but a bit of a decline. And that's because when that sales bottom sort of dropped out, really have to watch what happens here in May, because that's critical, right? We're in the heart of the spring market. You don't want to see sales 30 to 35% below normal in the spring market. Okay, so what happens next? It's everybody's favorite time. It's guessing time. So based on the trends, what we're seeing, what I'm monitoring on a weekly, monthly basis right now, I think we're going to have a fairly quiet, docile summer. If anything, I think May is going to perform like April did. Will be sort of suppressed over July and August. And then the big kicker is what happens with external factors, economic inputs, interest rate discussions, that sort of thing. Because remember, interest rates were increased to bring down inflation. Home prices have just gone up, which kicks up inflation. So there's this sort of like weird triple-edged sword going on with what happens next. So it's all guesswork, right? It's all theory. However, all the data shows that nothing's going to change here in May or June, that we're going to have this kind of a market where it's sensitive on all sides of the table. If you're a buyer, you need to be ready to move, but also be logical. If you're a seller, you need to have a strategy in place for how your home is priced and how it shows and all that good stuff. As far as prices go, I expect to see them flatten out and sort of bounce around where they are. If there's a 2% drop this month and a 1% increase the next month, I wouldn't be surprised by any of that. I think everything's sort of in a holding pattern, waiting to see what shakes out. So not a lot of nothing, I think, is that even a sentence, is going to happen as we go through the summer. But if there's one place to check, where is it? Here. Yay! So be sure to subscribe. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do. I'll put a button probably right there. And then otherwise, I'm going to link all kinds of other resources in the description below this video to our website. We have a blog. We have a market tracker. Our Instagram page is where we put a lot of stuff just sort of on a routine basis from day to day. So if you want to keep track of the Niagara real estate market, we are here for you. If you have any questions on your home, your street, your neighborhood, your community, whatever the case may be, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. I'll put a contact thing down below here as well. Always happy to chat. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. Credit to my main man, Brad, for making this look crisp. So hopefully you enjoy a little bit better of a look. And we'll see how things go forward. No, this is good. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care. We'll see you. Bye.